Morning everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion on the future of agriculture. My name is Jessica Grimble, and as Wimmera Development Association's Leadership Project Manager and a very proud farmer's daughter, I'm rapt to be your panel leader here today. I start by acknowledging the traditional owners on all the different Aboriginal countries each of us is videoing in from today, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and to any Aboriginal people present here today. I would like to acknowledge here in the Wimmera we are meeting on the land of the Watchabolik, the Wagaya, Jabbergulk, Jadwa and Jadwajali people. Today's session is being moderated and recorded with strict assurances to maintain privacy of all attendees in accordance with the principles of the Privacy Act and in line with the Department of Education's advice. Please join me in welcoming today our panellists for today's discussion. John Goldsmith, Head of Campus at Longi College. Welcome, John. Chris Sannes, Executive Director at Wimmera Development Association. Zach Curry, Wool Buyer for the Australian Wool Network. And Miranda Rose, Agribusiness Management and Agronomy student. Chris, I'd like to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about the opportunities for people considering a career in agriculture?
I think the great thing about a career in agriculture is you're welcome from any background. Any skill set is welcome, and that's probably the thing that sticks to mind. As someone that grew up on a farm but had no aspirations of being involved in farming or probably agriculture when I was going through school and particularly through university, I've spent 25 years in the agriculture industry and had a great opportunity to develop a whole range of skills that all are helping agriculture go forward. And I know when I've been playing footy at Kalkee, the amount of farmers that have done a trade or done involved in accounting or just been involved in shearing. So it doesn't matter if you're involved wanting to do physical work, you want to do manual work, if you want to involve something that's very much desk focused. All those careers are on offer in agriculture, and that's probably the best thing about it. It's a very welcoming career.
Fantastic. And so, John, where do you start planning for a career in agriculture?
Well, Jess, can I start by saying I think it's just the COVID-19 pandemic has certainly highlighted just how important agriculture is to Australia, if not the world. And has also highlighted just the opportunities in agriculture. And you look at our region in particular, agriculture has continued on through the pandemic almost unscathed. So it's a great industry to go into. Now I'm biased. I've been at Longi for nearly 30 years, so I truly believe in education and training. And I guess for young people, my advice is always really investigate your options. Make sure you're well informed. Now you can pursue a career in ag by just getting a job. Right? You can get a level entry job. You might want to be a farmhand, for example. But the thing you've got to keep in mind is that if you haven't got a qualification, it's really hard to progress up into those higher management levels. So, and again, you might say I'm biased, but I've seen it over the years where we've had graduates, they get a qualification and they do advance really quickly. And look, when we talk about qualifications, again, there's a range of options. You might want to get an apprenticeship, all right? So for those that are really, can't hack it at school, want the hands-on practical, the benefits of working and learning at the same time, that's a great option for students. And can I say, this year here at Longi, we've got the most ag apprentices we've ever had. So that's certainly a great pathway for people. There's also obviously the vocational pathway, which Longi is part of. Obviously a range of other providers, and there's also university. And both vocational training and universities are suited to different people. And I never advise people not to go either way. You've got to think about yourself and what suits you. If you're a more hands-on practical person, then probably the vocational pathway. But if you like the science and that really theory-based training, then perhaps university is your way. But again, do your research. Attend open days, and I know a lot of open days are virtual this year, but gather all the information you can. And to the young people watching today, talk to your careers advisors, etc.
Thanks, John. We're going to hear from Miranda now. Miranda, I understand that you were looking to move to Melbourne, studying an arts degree, but instead you're at Longi. So can you tell us a little bit about the change in your direction there?
Yeah, absolutely, Jess. That's spot on. I guess you could essentially say I had tunnel vision in school. From about year 10, I was set on going to Melbourne and doing an arts law pathway. And I think because of that, I blocked out a lot of alternative pathways. Like I just didn't consider anything else. And it probably wasn't until I actually received my offer that I realised Melbourne probably wasn't the right path to take straight away. Like a lot of my mates were excited about their offers and I just wasn't, which I should have been. So that's when I decided that I should probably have the initiative and make a decision now, what I actually want to do. So I'd always had a passion for agriculture. I'm not actually off a farm, but having grown up in Edenhope, I was surrounded by agriculture. So it wasn't new to me. I just didn't have that hands-on skill like a lot of other people at Longi. So I decided to go to Longi. I had a friend that just started and it looked like it was going to be a really good place. So fortunately, it's been the best decision I've made, not just academically, but actually socially as well. The opportunities within Horsham and surrounds have been fantastic and actually have developed my character probably more as well, and the volunteering opportunities and whatnot. So yeah, I think it's vital that students considering tertiary study must always have one option in the pipeline. Even if you're adamant that you want to do this one thing, I think it's so important that you also have another option. And it's even better if that other option is almost the complete opposite to what you want to do. Yeah, I think if I had had that mentality in school, I would have saved a lot of time. And yeah, I still intend to study law, so I still want to go down that original pathway. I've just taken a different route, I guess you could say. So I think it's still possible, and Longi's just been a stop on the way in my path. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Thanks, Jess.
That's fantastic. It sounds like you've made an excellent choice there. And if you can give us a little bit of insight into what life at Longi is like.
Yeah, of course. So probably the main thing that I've found, because I have a lot of friends that have actually gone to the city to undertake university study. And from what I've heard, Longi differs, not just in terms of what they teach, but you're regarded as a person rather than a number, I guess you could say. Longi is a lot smaller than, say, Deakin, Melbourne Uni, La Trobe. And because of the smaller size, you are sort of regarded, like the teachers know who you are, you know everyone on the campus. It's not as daunting as it would be at a university. The accommodation is fantastic. I've visited some friends in the cities and I could definitely say that the accommodation at Longi is modern, comfortable, as opposed to some of the accommodation at other places. But yeah, just a smaller environment makes it so much easier, and the days are structured similar to a school day, in the sense that you get a lot done in one day, whereas universities, if you tend to go down that path, you have limited contact hours, whereas Longi, it's a full day, so you get the most out of your learning, and you get through the course a lot quicker for that reason, because it is full time. And yeah, which what John will touch on later with all the precision ag and the Longi farm, but the college is sort of providing us with an insight into probably the technology side that farming's going down, the precision agriculture, and I think because of that, Longi graduates will have a bit of the upper hand when they go into the workforce, because it's not taught anywhere else, essentially. So yeah, that's
great
all from me.
And I'm sure John's sitting there very proud listening to your testimonial there. We're going to throw back to John and take a step back. Just to Cert 2 in Ag, John, can you tell us a little bit about vet in schools and where that course might be able to lead for those on the call?
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Can I just say I haven't prepped Miranda at all. We haven't discussed this, and so what you're hearing from Miranda is purely her words and totally from the heart. So thank you, Miranda. That's it is. Can I just touch on that? It is reassuring, because what we try to achieve here is to make our graduates industry ready. So once they leave Longi, they hit the ground running. That's what we're all about. And you're right, Miranda, it's not just a number. Everyone's a person here, and it's the whole package for us. Just around the vetting schools, and I'm sure most secondary school students would have an understanding of it, but just to put a bit of agricultural flavour on it, for us, we offer vetting schools agriculture every Wednesday, along with another number of other industries out at Longi. So we've also got automotive, engineering, building and construction. But in terms of the ag, it's obviously certificate 2. And if you think about the vocational training sector, and it's probably just an opportunity to make sure everyone understands the levels in the education system. So the vocational system goes from level 1, which is real basic entry, up to level 6, which is advanced diploma. And then you move, the next step is level 7, which is a higher education degree. So that's the uni. So at Longi, the vetting schools is level 2, so certificate 2. Very hands-on, very practical. That's what it's all about. And really, it's an introduction to agriculture. And for those of you, those students who are not quite sure, is ag going to float my boat? I don't know. Here's a great way to test the water. Okay. Then our full-time students, even our apprentices, they go that certificate 3 level and work their way right up to advanced diploma. And so it really is a stepped process, very, very hands-on practical. And then you work your way through up to the managerial subjects, if you like. So by the time you've completed the suite, it's a really good combination. And that's what, when you put it all together, I call it the jigsaw puzzle. When you put it all together, I think students like Miranda, who've been out on work experience, when they come back and finish their last semester, they get to the end and go, oh yeah, okay, now I get how it all works. So for those who do a vetting school program, it's a really good add-on, if you like.
Thanks, John. I'd like to have a quick chat to Zach. I understand that you did a traineeship with the Australian Wool Network, and now you're working as a wool buyer. Can you tell us a little bit about your pathway and what sort of skills got you over the line to get that ongoing role there?
Yeah, no worries, Jess. So just a little bit of background knowledge as to how I've managed to find myself in the position I am today. I was fortunate enough that back when I was in high school to be given the opportunity to undertake a school-based apprenticeship in agriculture, which included a certificate 2 in ag. So yeah, this gave me my first taste for the sheep and wool industry. And I later went on and completed my certificate 3 in agriculture, and alongside a 3-year study period where I gained my certificate 4 in wool classing. So yeah, sheep and wool, due to my studies, that was what struck me, and that later became my passion. So after leaving school and while studying, I secured employment locally in a shearing team, and where we travelled around, and I rouseabouted and wool pressed in the shearing sheds full time. And towards the completion of my wool classing studies, sure enough, my trainer had advised me that he had put my name forward to a nationally recognised wool brokering firm, and that I would be expecting a phone call in the coming weeks. When I recall this point in time, I remember just being totally shocked and pretty excited at the same time that my name had been put forward out of my whole class for a position with this company. And sure enough, I received the phone call some weeks later asking to have an informal interview, and the position of a wool buyer was offered. I remember thinking to myself after the interview, what exactly is a wool buyer? But at the time, I knew it was a pretty decent career path outside of the shearing sheds, and to follow it. And sure enough, I couldn't be happier now. So yeah, so when I was informed sometime later that the reason I had been recommended was simply due to the way in which I'd applied myself throughout my studying period, and yeah, I guess it just goes to highlight that when you are passionate about something, then you do apply yourself throughout the process. In addition to demonstrating a strong work ethic, people notice your efforts. And look, in my case, it was very much the right place, the right time. But I have no doubt that my knowledge in the industry through my studies was indeed a contributing factor to landing such a position. So, yeah, that'd be that, Jess.
Thank you. That's brilliant. And I'm going to stick with you because I understand you've spoken in the past and at length about succession planning and about opportunities for young people in agriculture. Would you be able to revisit those comments for those on the call as well?
Yeah, sure, Jess. So yeah, that's right. Previously, I have made mention to the importance of succession planning and the role it plays in allowing opportunities to become available for young people in the ag sector. Traditionally, job opportunities in agriculture, in my opinion, have been dominated by a somewhat older demographic and usually male-based. However, in what I would say to be the last decade or 2 decades, we've certainly seen a higher rate of interest in agriculture from a much younger and more gender-balanced demographic. Such high levels of interest have been extremely well received by the trade, and employers in all areas of the industry are noticing this trend. So that's a real positive for ag as far as I'm concerned. But Jess, I might just touch on the wool industry, specifically on the brokering side of things, which I'm currently employed in, and use that as an example as to why I believe it's imperative that succession planning be implemented. As you all know, I work as a wool buyer, and part of that role is to grow and maintain a clientele. And having such clientele is the key to the marketing side of our industry, along with my job being successful. Now, if a business relies solely on employing only a few individuals, what happens when those individuals are no longer able to carry out the work required of them? You lose business and productivity levels obviously decrease. So essentially, succession planning is paramount to a business's success. And I can assure each and every one of you that's tuned in today that whether it be in marketing a product or whether it be producing a product, and let's face it, that's what agriculture is all about, really, and that is producing a product to then be marketed. There will always be a need for a succession plan to be implemented, and because of this, opportunities will always make themselves available to those who are willing and that obtain the necessary abilities and skills to carry out such roles. So you may also find in a lot of cases employers willing to deliver the necessary training to carry out such roles if a high level of willingness is shown by an individual. So yeah, that would have to be it in a nutshell, Jess.
Excellent. Thank you, Zach. And that's a really nice segue to our final question I'm going to throw to Chris. Zach's talked about changing times in ag, and obviously technology is a really big part of that. Can you tell us about the impact that technology is having on the industry generally, and what does the demand look like for jobs in the industry into the future?
The thing about technology is agriculture from the very start has always been based on research and development and farmers implementing that, and a support group of people helping farmers implement that research and development. It is an ecosystem, and the technology now is coming through thick and fast in agriculture, as with every industry. A lot of it's fairly complex, a lot of it can go wrong, and just as at home or at school, you can get frustrated when the technology doesn't work. Farmers and people in the industry have the same challenges, and there seems to be never enough people with the knowledge around to support. So the reality is, as was probably 100 years ago, there is always people who are wanting to learn new skills, to develop understanding of what's just around the corner, to help an industry you're particularly interested in. And the great thing now is you can be based anywhere in Australia. You don't have to be in a city to offer those services. You can be in the country. But the most important thing is to keep on wanting to learn. And as someone that's now over 51 years old, I'm still not really sure what my career aspirations are. But the one thing I have been certain of, any time there's a learning opportunity, I'm fairly keen to take it up. And be curious about what's next. So I think that's the most important thing for you, wherever you are, whatever age you are, is to be curious about, well, how can this help something that I'm interested in? And whatever that is, I think you'll find there's going to be a career opportunity ahead of you. And I think as long as you're curious all the time, I reckon you'll have a great time of trying to work out what to do. And when you do eventually probably look back on your life and go, actually, I never really knew what my career was, but I always was interested in what's next. I think you'll have had a really good time doing it.
Thanks, Chris. I think that's a really good common theme coming through from each of us on the call, myself included. For those students on the call, you may not have the same career that you're thinking about right now, and that's okay, because things change and you change, and as long as you roll with it and keep learning, then that's a really good outcome. So I'd like to just put a call out now for some questions via those on the call. Can add them via the question and answer box. We can get them answered by our panelists here today.
Could I just say, while people are typing in their questions, one thing on the technology specifically, I think, is what we've got here in the Wimmera is as good as anything in Australia. So Longi College has got the data farm, which is leading edge technology for both the farming community and students to learn on, and that you won't get that experience basically anywhere else in Australia, or what they've got set up there. Our firms that are working in technology, such as the O'Connors and the John Deere, and so the Case and John Deere, that's leading edge as good as anywhere in the world. And I think just wherever you go, the technology is creating opportunities anywhere. And as I say, thinking about Longi College, what with the data farm, you've got an opportunity there to learn, and I think, yeah, really try and embrace it.
Thanks, Chris. Just on the back of that, question without notice for Zach. We've got a lot of fantastic voices from within our region that are representing at a state or national level in certain areas. And talking about Zach with the Show Society, there's a lot of opportunity to have your say, isn't there, in the community, whether it is local or broader. How did you get into that, and what does that mean to you to have that voice?
Yeah, into the Show Society. So the local Show Society in Horsham here. Yeah, it was simply I'd been employed as a war buyer in Horsham for 6 months, and a little newspaper article come out about me. And the local Show Society soon snaffled me up. And 3 years later, I'm now the youngest in history to take on the role of president of the Show Society. And yeah, it's really connected me to particular clients that I already deal with, and it's also opened the doors to new relationships with new clients from exhibitors at the Show Society and whatnot. And yeah, it's nice to have that little bit of a link in agriculture at show level, and also be involved in the local community. So yeah, your job opportunities when you land a good job, people can recognise that as well, and you can get roped into the community fairly easy too. So yeah, that'd be it. Yeah.
That's great, thank you. And of course, we've got John on the Wimmera Machinery Field Days, among other committees as well. So there's certainly a lot of opportunities to get involved in the community, isn't there, in all sorts of areas within the industry.
Oh, absolutely, Jess. I think it's part of community life, and it's what we do well in our region. It's not just about your job, your 9-to-5 job, but it's being involved in the community. So that's really important. It's really, I mean, personally, I've been on the Field Days committee, I think 14 years now, and I just love it, the camaraderie, getting out there on weekends and working bees, and yeah, having fun and talking to farmers. It's just fantastic.
That's great. And I'm just going to throw to Miranda for the very last question. Miranda, you're not too far away from home, but you still did leave home to come to Longi, and you're living in a place that you've obviously gotten used to. Could you give a bit of a message to finish up this call today for people on the call? What message would you give to them about leaving home if they're feeling a little bit daunted, or they're not quite sure what they might come across down the line? What message would you give to them?
I think just actually leading on from what Zach and John just spoke about, I think if you do leave home and you are a bit worried, I think it's so important to develop those social connections. And the best way to do that is actually joining those organisations such as your show societies, and getting involved in the college or the uni that you're actually at, and engaging in that social life, because that's just so important. Not only making friends and developing that network, but it just builds on, like as I said, your character building. It improves your self-worth and everything. So I think if to those students that are a bit worried about leaving home, yeah, the first step is the hardest, absolutely. But just take it and just get involved is probably my main thing. Yeah, it acts as a distraction sometimes, but you build those networks that build you up and help you in the long run. So, yeah.
That's brilliant. Very, very wise words to finish the call. I'm just going to quickly throw to John. He's going to mention what the plans are for the Longi Open Day.
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Just really quickly, and look, aware that we've got COVID-19, but the Longi Open Day this year, we are going to proceed, but it's going to be very different to previous years. So we will have some people attending, but they were only students. You have to be a prospective student who would attend the college next year, so in 2021. But we will be live streaming presentations, etc., for everyone else who can't attend, or you know, we're going to restrict numbers as well. So yeah, it's going to be very, very different. So just stay tuned. It'll be on the TV and in the media, etc. August 9. Thanks, Jess.
Brilliant. Thanks, John, and thanks to Chris, Zach and Miranda for coming along today. It's been absolutely fantastic to hear from you. A really enjoyable way to start the day. For anyone who does have questions, please send them through the LEN and we can get them answered for you. But I guess I'll leave it there. Thanks to everyone for coming along, and good luck with the rest of your Careers Expo and the rest of your studies.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.